I hope everyone's been alright since my last video. I hope that you've all been keeping safe, washing your hands, keeping those 2 meters apart from everyone. And most importantly, I hope that you've been keeping your minds active and busy so that you're not bored, you know. So, last time we read The Hobbit together. And we got up to where Bilbo meets Gandalf. Bilbo tells Gandalf, I'm not going on an adventure. Gandalf puts a funny sign on Bilbo's door, and then absolutely loads of dwarves and strange people he'd never met before come into his house and eating all his food, and they start singing. So that's where we got up to. Before I start reading again, I just want to say hello to my classes, hello to my Form 7 HSK, hello to 71A, 72D and 82B. I really hope you're all alright. I miss you all so much. I wish I was there in the classroom teaching you and reading to you in person, but you know, this will have to do for now. And what I've decided to do while I am reading is pause at points and like discuss what's happened, discuss like difficult words so that we understand the text a little bit more. I didn't do it last time because I just wanted to read it so I didn't disrupt the flow of the reading, but I think that it might be better for everyone if we discuss it a little bit so everyone understands it. Okay. So I'm not gonna lie, there is a really long song. I just don't think I've got it in me to sing it all, but I'll sing a little bit and then I'll read the rest. Okay, so as I said, the last time we read the book, Bilbo, loads of people came into his little hobbit hole, into his house and disrupted him. He didn't even know them, but he was making food for them all and he didn't know them and he wasn't expecting them. It was an unexpected party, that is what the chapter is called. The dark filled the room and the fire died down and the shadows were lost. And still they played on, and suddenly, first one and then another began to sing as they played. Deep-throated singing of the dwarves in the deep places of their ancient homes. And this is like a fragment of their song, if it can be like their song without their music. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away break of day to seek the pale enchanted gold. The dwarves of yore made mighty spells, while hammers fell like ringing bells, in places deep where dark things sleep, in hollow halls beneath the fells. For ancient king and elvish lore, the many a gleaming golden hoard, they shaped and wrought and light they caught, to hide in gems on hilt of sword. On silver necklaces they strung, the flowering stars on crowns they hung. The dragon fire and twisted wire, they meshed the light of moon and sun. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away a break of day to claim our long forgotten gold. Goblets they carved there for themselves, and harps of gold where no man delves. There lay they long, and many a song was sung unheard by man or elves. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread, the trees like torches blazed with light. The bells were ringing in the dale, the men looked up with faces pale. Then dragons are more fierce than fire, they lower their towers and houses frail. The mountains smoke beneath the moon, the dwarves they heard the tramp of doom. They fled their hall to die and fall beneath his feet, beneath the moon. Far over the misty mountains grim, to dungeons deep and caverns dim, we must away a break of day to win our harps and gold from him. Okay, so the dwarf's song, it sounds like they have to go somewhere to get some treasure. So they have to seek pale enchanted gold and to win harps and golds from him. So this sounds like it might be the start of an unexpected journey. As they sung, the Hobbit felt the love of beautiful things made by hands, and by cunning and by magic moving through him, a fierce and jealous love, the desire of the hearts of dwarves. Then something tuckish woke up inside him, and he wished to go and see the great mountains, and hear the pine trees and the waterfalls, and explore the caves and wear a sword instead of a walking stick. He looked out of the window. The stars were out in the dark sky above the trees. He thought of the jewels of the dwarves shining in the dark caverns. Suddenly in the wood beyond the water, a flame leapt up. Probably somebody lighting a wood fire. And he thought of plundering dragons settling on his quiet hill and kindling all to flames. He shuddered, and very quickly he was playing Mr. Baggins of Bag End Underhill again. So what do you think is going to happen? When we first met Bilbo, he was very resistant to going on any kind of adventure. But do you remember what we found out about his family? His family were different than other hobbits. Have a little think. Do you remember what he told us about Belladonna Tuck? So he told us that she went on an adventure, and now he's heard this song. And how has this song made him feel about leaving the Shire and leaving his hobbit hole? It has made him... Let me just find a sentence. Something tuckish woke up inside him. Well, we know that the Tucks went on adventures because he told us that. So if something tuckish woke up inside him, how does he feel? He wants to go on adventures maybe, but then again, he thought of a dragon blowing his hill to flames. He thought of the danger that it could bring, and he became a Baggins again instead of a Tuck. He got up trembling. He had less than half a mind to fetch the lamp, and more than half a mind to pretend to, and go and hide behind the beer barrels in the cellar, and not come out again until all the dwarves had gone away. Suddenly he found that the music and the singing had stopped, and they were all looking at him with eyes shining in the dark. "Where are you going?" said Thorin, in a tone that seemed to show that he guessed both halves of the hobbit's mind. "What about a little light?" said Bilbo apologetically. "We like the dark," said all the dwarves. "Dark for dark business. There are many hours before dawn." "Of course," said Bilbo, and sat down in a hurry. He missed a stool and sat in the fender, knocking over the poker and shovel with a crash. "Hush," said Gandalf. "Let Thorin speak." And this is how Thorin began. "Gandalf, dwarves, and Mr. Baggins, we are met together in the house of our friend and our fellow conspirator, this most excellent and audacious hobbit. May the hair on his toes never fall out. All praise to his wine and ale." He paused for a breath and for a polite remark from the hobbit, but the compliments were quite lost on poor Bilbo Baggins, who was wagging his mouth in protest at being called audacious. And worst of all, a fellow conspirator. Though no noise came out, he was flummoxed. So Thorin went on. "We are met to discuss our plans, our ways, means, policy and devices. We shall soon before the break of day start on our long journey, a journey from which some of us, or perhaps all of us, except our friend and counsellor, the ingenious wizard Gandalf, may never return. It is a solemn moment. Our object is, I take it, well known to us all, to estimable Mr. Baggins, and perhaps to one or two of the younger dwarves. I think I should be right in naming Killy and Philly, for instance. The exact situation at the moment may require a little brief explanation." This was Thorin's style. He was an important dwarf. If he had been allowed, he would probably have gone on like that until he was out of breath, without telling anyone there anything that was not already known. But he was rudely interrupted. Poor Bilbo couldn't bear it any longer. At may never return, he began to feel a shriek coming up inside, and very soon it burst out like the whistle of an engine coming out of a tunnel. All the dwarves sprang up, knocking over the table. Gandalf struck a blue light on the end of his magic staff, and in its fireworks glare the poor hobbit could be seen kneeling on the hearthrug, shaking like jelly that was melting. Then he fell flat on the floor and kept calling out, "Struck by lightning, struck by lightning," over and over again, and that was all they could get out of him for a long time. So upon hearing what Thorin has told Bilbo, how does he now feel about what they expect of him? If you've said that he is really scared, then you would be correct. So they took him and laid him out of the way on the drawing room sofa with a drink at his elbow, and they went back to their dark business. "Excitable little fellow," said Gandalf as they sat down again. "Gets funny queer fits, but he is one of the best, as fierce as a dragon in a pinch." If you have ever seen a dragon in a pinch, you will realise that this was only poetical exaggeration applied to any hobbit, even to Old Tuck's great-granduncle Bull Roarer, who was so huge for a hobbit that he could ride a horse. He charged the ranks of the goblins of Mount Gram in the Battle of Greenfields and knocked their King Golfimble's head clean off with a wooden club. It sailed 100 yards through the air and went down a rabbit hole, and in this way the battle was won, and the game of golf was invented at the same time. In the meanwhile, however, Bull Roarer's gentle descendant was reviving in the drawing room. After a while and a drink, he crept nervously to the door of the parlour. Okay, do we see any kind of foreshadowing going on that tells us what Bilbo's fate might be, or what his true personality is, and will tell us what will happen later on in the novel? Because I think there was a little bit of foreshadowing going on there. What were we told about Old Tuck's great-granduncle, Bull Roarer, who Bilbo is related to? We were told that he charged the ranks of goblins in a battle, and it was due to him that the battle was won. He clean took the head off a goblin. So what foreshadowing is there that tells us that, well, what Bilbo's fate might be? Well, I'm not going to tell you. We will carry on reading though, and we'll see if what you said is correct. This is what he heard, Gloin speaking. Or some snort or more or less like that. Will he do you think? It is all very well for Gandalf to talk about this hobbit being fierce, but one shriek like that in a moment of excitement would be enough to wake the dragon and all his relatives and kill the lot of us. I think it sounded more like fright than excitement. In fact, if it had not been for the sign on the door, I should have been sure we had come to the wrong house. As soon as I clapped eyes on the little fellow bobbing and puffing on the mat, I had my doubts. He looks more like a grocer than a burglar. Then Mr. Baggins turned the handle and went in. The Tuck side had won. He suddenly felt he would go without bed and breakfast to be thought fierce. As for little fellow bobbing on the mat, it almost made him really fierce. Many a time afterwards, the Baggins part regretted what he did now, and he said to himself, "Bilbo, you were a fool. You walked right in and put your foot in it." "Pardon me," he said, "if I had overheard words that you were saying. I don't pretend to understand what you are talking about, or your reference to burglars, but I think I am right in believing," this is what he called being on his dignity, "that you think I am no good. I will show you. I have no signs on my door. It was painted a week ago, and I am quite sure you have come to the wrong house. As soon as I saw your funny faces on the doorstep, I had my doubts, but treat it as the right one. Tell me what you want done, and I will try it. If I have to walk from here to the east of the east and fight the wild wereworms in the lake desert. I had a great-great-granduncle once, Bull Roarer Tuck, and..." Yes, but that was long ago," said Gloin. "I was talking about you, and I assure you there is a mark on this door, the usual one in the trade, or used to be. Burglar wants a good job, plenty of excitement, and reasonable reward. That's how it is usually read. You can say expert treasure hunter instead of burglar if you like. Some of them do. It's all the same to us. Gandalf told us that there was a man of the sorts in these parts looking for a job at once, and that he had arranged for a meeting here this Wednesday tea time." Of course there is a mark, said Gandalf. I put it there myself, for good reasons. You asked me to find the 14th man for your expedition, and I chose Mr. Baggins. Just let anyone say I chose the wrong man or the wrong house, and you can stop at 13 and have all the bad luck you like, or go back to digging coal. He scowled so angrily at Gloin that the dwarf huddled back in his chair, and when Bilbo tried to open his mouth to ask a question, he turned and frowned at him and stuck out his bushy eyebrows till Bilbo shut his mouth tight with a snap. That's right, said Gandalf. Let's have no more argument. I have chosen Mr. Baggins, and that ought to be enough for all of you. If I say he's a burglar he is, or will be when the time comes. There is a lot more in him than you guess, and a deal more than he has any idea of himself. You may possibly all live to thank me yet. Now, Bilbo, my boy, fetch the lamp, and let's have a little light on this. On the table, in the light of a big lamp with a red shade, he spread a piece of parchment rather like a map. This was made by Thror, your grandfather Thorin, he said in answer to the dwarf's excited questions. It is a plan of the mountain. I don't see that this will help us much, said Thorin disappointedly after a glance. I remember the mountain well enough and the lands about it, and I know where Mirkwood is, and the withered heath where the great dragon's bred. There is a dragon marked in red on the mountain, said Balin. But it will be easy enough to find him without that if we ever arrive there. There is one point that you haven't noticed, said the wizard, and that is the secret entrance. You see that rune on the west side and the hand pointing to it from the other runes? That marks a hidden passage to the lower halls. Look at the map at the beginning of this book and you will see there the runes. Okay, let's have a look at the map. So we need to look at a red dot on a mountain. Let me try and find it and then I can point it out to you. Okay, I think this is it. So this is the map. And I think this right here is the secret entrance. Now, what do they want the secret entrance for? What are they trying to do? And what has Bilbo now agreed to do? Because of his temper, basically. So the song told you, and now they're talking about a creature. Sorry about this. So the song told you, and they're talking about a creature. They're talking about a dragon. A dragon has taken all the gold that used to be theirs, and he's hiding it and keeping it for himself. So they have to go to try and find the dragon to take back the treasure. And now they've said that Bilbo is a burglar, which means expert treasure hunter. So now they're looking at the map and Gandalf has just told them about secret entrance that they'd never heard about before. So we're going to stop there, but I will post another video in the next couple of days reading on. I'm sorry about such the long way, but from now on it will be more consistent. So thank you for watching. If you've watched, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I will upload the next part in a few days. But if you're new in my class, or if you're just watching the video, then just leave me a comment or send me an email if I am your teacher about what you think about The Hobbit, and do you think that Bilbo would be a good burglar? Right, see you later.